Magic in the Morning with Train, Drops of Jupiter. That's what that stuff was. That was all over my car and a lot of your lawns yesterday as we're preparing for it. End of October. We're looking at the calendar. It's a Tuesday, and let's see, we're at 8:35, 8:36. Oh, guess what? Time for Good Policies with Mike Barrett from Barrett Insurance. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Yeah, the other night when the drops of Jupiter, if you will, were coming down, I had a little Dean Martin, whoa, the weather outside is frightful playing while I was letting Charlie out. Man, it was coming down pretty good.
Let it snow, let it snow.
But the kids this Halloween won't have the fun that I had when I was about my son's age, maybe a little younger, and that's when I was walking up Carroll Boulevard in St. Johnsbury with 3 inches of slush and snow, and it was still snowing and cold, and I was dressed as a ghost, and I fell in like a gully because it was so slippery. Yeah, that didn't bode well for my ghost costume. I almost became a ghost. So
that was funny because I was going to say, I remember when I was living on North Avenue in St. Johnsbury, I had a Casper costume. Yep. Do you remember on those cold Halloweens, that real thin plastic mask never warmed up?
Strange, isn't it? Thin plastic has no insulation value. Yeah. By the way, one year my mom had me, I did a Dracula, and my mom put Vaseline in my hair. Guess what? What little hair I still have still has Vaseline in it.
Okay, we shift gears here. We always have a great chat, and we always express the importance of having proper insurance coverage, and you've taught every single one of us something. Most importantly, the conversation. We talk about having the right coverage all the time, and you mentioned that you want to head in that direction this morning. Where do you want to start out?
Yeah, I'm going to say something that sounds really weird but very important, and it'll make total sense once we start unwrapping this conversation. But do you know that picking your limits for liability, it's as important as it is for you to pick that, because you're also responsible for everybody else's liability limits out there?
All right. Now, I'm thinking this might tie into and you can tell me I'm wrong, the hard market that we've been talking about. Do these tie together?
Not necessarily. No, This is kind of a perennial thing here where there's always going to be individuals out there driving with either no insurance or state minimum insurance or low limits, to be totally straight up. And let's say, for instance, you get into an accident with somebody. Let's use the example of them having state minimum limits in Vermont specifically. You're driving along, you get into an accident, it's their fault. You sustain some significant injuries, you're hospitalized, your vehicle's got significant damage, possibly a total loss, and you're going through the process of the claim, and then you start to realize, my God, these people only have state minimum. So that means for my bodily injury, which I know is going to be hundreds of thousands of dollars because I had a hospital stay and medication and surgery, the most they're going to be able to cover for my medical expense is $25,000. It's not going to get far. Most they're going to cover for your vehicle is $10,000 on your $40 or $50 or $60 or $70,000 vehicle. Not going to go far either. So why is it so important that you pick appropriate limits? Because your limits now for your uninsured, underinsured motorists are probably going to be triggered because of those low limits on the parties that's at fault. So if your limits are low, you're still going to be in a situation where you don't have enough coverage. So I'm not saying go for the gold, go for the far. Well, yeah, go for the gold. Why not if you can? There was a fire many years ago in St. Johnsbury, and the person that suffered one of the losses in one of the buildings said, buy as much insurance as you can afford. I more or less agree with that. Have a dialogue. Don't just buy insurance to max it out, but buy what makes sense to protect you if you are, God forbid, in a scenario where you hit somebody with no insurance or not enough insurance, because you could tie that into the hard market, Jeff, where now maybe more frequently people are foregoing insurance because of having cost issues or having to pay it out, or going with the lowest limits possible, thinking that's saving them a ton of money.
Well, you kind of nailed it. Hit it on the head, pun there.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Yeah. With the whole, so you got a $70,000 vehicle. Somebody's got $20,000 worth of coverage. You've got $20,000 worth of coverage. It still doesn't math out.
It does not math out. And really what's going to happen is you're going to go through the process. And again, I'm using the scenario where another party is at fault for the accident that has caused bodily injury and property damage to you. It also did to them too, but we're not worried about that. I'm worried about you, because you're the person that we're talking about is the insured, right? So if you have appropriate coverage, what we're going to do then is when we find out there's not enough coverage on the other parties, we'll file a claim on your insurance. Your insurance will then begin the investigation process, understand that there's not enough coverage on the other side of the at-fault party, and it'll start triggering coverage. If you have collision coverage on your vehicle, if by chance the uninsured motorist property damage, which state of Vermont uninsured motorist property damage is $10,000, you're still going to fall short. So you're going to want to have collision coverage on that because that's what that's going to be covered under.
So the obvious question then that popped into my mind as you were making that statement is, if your insurance has to cover what the other insurance doesn't, will that impact your rate?
So it's not an at-fault accident, which really is helpful, right? So you're not going to be penalized for an at-fault accident. And if you're not shopping for insurance within the next 2 to 3 to 5 years after this accident, it really shouldn't be a problem because that's when it's going to come up. It's going to, oh, hi, Spider. Crumbling down from the microphone there. It's really going to be, no, it doesn't bother me, Jeff. He's good. It's really going to be something where if you've been with an insurance company for a while, I don't foresee that adversely impacting because, again, it's not an at-fault. It's coverage that you purchased to protect yourself and is doing what it's supposed to do as protecting you from somebody's bad decisions.
Also, too, sounds like it's probably, like we hear all the time, never admit fault at the scene of an accident.
No, that's another great point we should really quickly bring up as I continue to see and hear and talk to people who have been in accidents of any kind and not getting enough information. If you are in an accident, I don't care if you both say, you know what, let's not worry about it. Believe me, I've heard enough of the let's not worry about it to know that you need to worry about it because somebody's going to call somebody and complain about something. Get all the information. Get their name, their address. Are they the owner of the vehicle? If not, get the owner's information. Get the insurance information. Even if you never need it, get it because it's going to be so helpful if you do need it. And I put my money on the fact that you will need it.
I think it's best to let the professionals handle it. Get the information, pass it along to the insurance companies, let them decide.
It's like a conversation we had a number of weeks ago or months ago, Jeff, where I said details matter. Information is key here. And even if you don't need it, it's always better to have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. So...
Or, as my dad always said, the stupidest question is the one you never ask.
Yeah, I've heard that many times, and I still practice that.
All right. Folks want to reach out and get in touch with you?
Yeah, give us a call, 748-5224. You can find us on Portland Street in St. Johnsbury, online, thebarrettagency.com, Google, Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Just look for Barrett Insurance Agency, and I hope everybody has a safe and happy Halloween. You certainly don't have to cover up your Halloween costumes this year. It'll be nice and toasty, so be safe and have fun, everybody.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to put all this time and effort into a costume and have to throw a parka over it.
Yeah. Now you're a chili ghost.
Good policies, Magic in the morning. Get some Lady Gaga, and we're minutes away from our hometown minute here on Magic.